Hello and welcome to the Golden Horde, such an illustrious descendant of Ghengis Khan himself. The Borgijins still rule here, and this is a tag that will potentially either be very, very strong or be subject to a rather heinous disaster that will split it into many parts, like the White Horde, for example, the Blue Horde, Kazanis. There's a lot that could potentially happen, though we haven't got much of a any confirmation about mechanics on that front yet. This is just, kind of what happened historically. But anyway, let us get into the dev diary and we'll see what is going on with this country. Before we do that though, if you would like to hit the subscribe button, it really does help me out. I get a bit of dopamine. You get notified when new Tinto Talks videos comes out, so you stay a little bit informed. It's a win-win. Let us go. Welcome to one more week to the weekly encounter for map lovers. This week it's directed at horse lovers. Okay, we'll be looking at the Eurasian steppes plus the Urals. So let's start with maps. Or without further ado, I would have phrased that a little differently. I would have phrased that just a tad bit differently, if I'm not gonna lie. But maybe whatever. Of course, we have the various maps. We have one where wastelands are not coloured in. We have another one where wastelands are coloured in. Again, I like this one. I will probably be using this one, though again, we also have not yet seen the terrain map, so that's almost certainly the one that I'm actually going to be using eventually. A glorious golden horde at its power peak under the reign of Uzbek Khan, so it's a much more menacing presence for its neighbours. However, it has some internal issues that need to be managed, as you'll notice in some of the maps. And in the future, when we talk about the content for hordes, the Golden Horde is also the head of its own international organization, the Tata Yoke, as shown in a previous Tinto maps, and then they show it here again. These are all of the tags currently underneath the Golden Horde, but they do have a little bit more to say about that. We've already corrected the Ruthenian cultures that are under the Horde's yoke, although we still have to correct the Russian principalities, which will be done in the corresponding Tinto map to review. We're also aware that we need to improve a bit the colouring of the IO, to mark not only the Golden Horde as the overlord of these countries, but also that Muscovy holds the title of the Grand Principality of Vladimir, which makes it the enforcer of the yoke. These fixes are also planned to be done in a few weeks. So this is a map that's got to change just a little bit in colour, so making it a little bit more visible. So we have the Societies of Pops. A little bit up to the north, we have some Societies of Pops. It means that the territory of Western Siberia won't be empty land, but will be populated by these people, which can be interacted with. Not showing a dynasty map because only the Borgijin dynasty rules over the lands of the Golden Horde, of course. I'm not gonna lie, it took me more than a minute to actually figure out where this section of the map is, and from what I can tell, it's got like Siberia, like this is the sea, so it's actually kind of a little bit like it's not on this map. It feels like I don't know if I'm wrong about that. Like I can't really tell where this is. It's kind of difficult. Although actually no, wait, I tell a lie. See this little bit of lake? Is this little bit of lake here? Okay, so it's just off the top, and I'm right. This is the White Sea? No, there's the sea that's north of Russia. I can't remember. It is the White Sea. I don't remember. But yeah, that's okay. That's all of this stuff up here. Then it's kind of it is kind of difficult to make it out. Yeah, we got this little spiky bit. Is this bit here? Okay, I now understand where it is. There's more Societies of Pops as well. We have this comment. Can we zoom on the Societies of Pops south of Lyapin? And we have these ones here. The Tabarian people, Pelimians, Kondans, etc. and etc. But yeah, nice that we got a little bit of a zoom in on that one. So, location-wise, and once again we get into a little bit of the controversial map changes. I do, like, aesthetically this looks good to me because I'm a big fan of stained glass aesthetics. I think that probably stems from how much I like Warhammer and all the stained glass that's in Warhammer 40k. That's probably where my love of stained glass comes from. But I don't know. I don't know if stained glass look is really the way to go here. Having the your watercolor in the center and then a darker color on the outside edges is an interesting choice. I'm not sure many people are agreeing with it. I do like the wastelands. I think that the wastelands do look better than they did before. I'm not complaining about that. But yeah, we've got a couple of location maps and some more detailed ones here. Like Crimea, for example. This has what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 locations in Crimea. And it's slightly less, I believe, than Imperative Rome, but certainly more than in EU4, which I think has 3 or 2 or 4. It's a low amount for sure. But yeah, definitely that is certainly interesting as well. But yeah, these are the locations in Ukraine. So that is looking quite lovely. And moving on, we've got more locations further afield. And as you can tell, the density of the locations just gets larger and larger, or the density gets smaller. The location sizes get larger and larger as they are, fewer people in it and more spread out, let's say. So that's why these are much larger than these, which is a little bit of a double-edged sword, right? If you manage to get, say, Akol or Atbasar to the same population as, let's say, Botkul down here, say Botkul and Bokeh together with Elton, right? These three, let's say that's the same size as Atbasar in square kilometrage, or square mileage, let's say, whichever one you prefer, because I know I have quite a decent-sized American audience. To get the same economic benefits from these 3 locations, you're going to have to build the buildings 3 separate times. You're going to need to get your control down in 3 separate locations, whereas at Basar, you can have just the one. So it is more expensive, though potentially more lucrative, to be to exploit, let's say, smaller locations than larger. Large ones takes less money to exploit them, but obviously I guess the ceiling, let's say, is lower on the amount that you will be able to get from it. But yeah, control wise, I think that is the main pain point when it comes to smaller locations versus larger locations, because the control cost between Atbasar and Bazok Astana is the same as the control cost between Botkul and Elton. The size doesn't matter when it comes to control cost. So yeah, that is something to be aware of. Smaller provinces is not always 100% the better situation. And then some more locations here by the... I always get this one wrong. This one's the Caspian Sea. I think I said that it was the Ural... Not the Ural. The... Oh, what's it called? I'm completely blanking on it. I think I mixed this sea and this sea. Lake, sea, whatever. I mixed them up in the last one. In the last episode that I did on this. So I apologize for that. But this is what we're looking like here. There was a large thread, I remember, that was basically complaining about all of this being uncolonizable wastelands, and that wasn't really fair, especially when you compare it to northern Sweden, northern Finland, which had around about the same population density in these areas, about the same ability to march an army through, and yet this area was designated wasteland, whereas northern Scandinavia was not. I don't know where I stand on that point. I don't know much about this area. My biggest amount of interaction with it is mainly conquering it in mostly Imperative Rome, if I'm being honest. I don't really play in this area very much in EU4. I don't know, but the thread was interesting, and maybe you should check it out and make up your own minds. Tons of locations today. You may notice that the density location is a progression from west to east, from the most densely settled areas to the less settled ones. You may also notice that we followed a design of settler corridors in western Siberia, setting those parts of the land that were habitable, usually on river valleys. Now we have provinces, and I got a comment in the last time I showed the provinces. Why? Basically, what use are provinces in this game? And the answer is we don't know too much about what the... is there buildings on the province level? We don't know yet. We do know that provinces are the level that you will be coring things at, the level that you'll be sending your administrators over to integrate or ingratiate or whatever those locations, that province, into your empire. And that's what we learned in the last Tinto Talks on Wednesday. By the way, one comment that was posted as well is, why am I not doing the replies as a separate video now? And that is purely because I have my parents over visiting from overseas, and getting the time to just do these videos is a little bit... It's just awkward getting more done. So I'm down to 2 until next Wednesday when they leave. Then I'll go back up to doing the replies video. So if you prefer that, then that is coming back. But yeah, a little bit of a tangent to talk about real life shit. Apologies. Let's just keep going. Provinces. They look good. I would argue that wastelands should not be included. I think wastelands being included makes some of these provinces look absolutely colossal, and that only gets worse when you look at the areas map mode. I don't think they should be included in this at all. We've got more provinces here, and then now we're looking at the areas, and you can just tell instantly which places have huge wastelands. Deshti Kipchak, Vorkuta, Mankazaya all have huge wastelands, and they're just looking kind of awkwardly huge because of it. Moving on to terrain. A lot of continental, not terrain, well, it is terrain, but it's continental climate. Some cold, arid, and then Arctic in the north. Makes sense. I guess if you are going to be colonizing in the this way direction, getting a little bit of a corridor down here is probably the best way. The topography, it's flat as fuck. There is a very interesting situation that I was curious about. The Ural Mountains. You mean the Ural Hills? I disagree with this, obviously, quite a bit. I think this should be mountains. And also the Pavia has mentioned as well that they're going to be looking at this, because there are some mountains in the Ural mountain range, so it definitely should be there as well. But it's going to be a pretty interesting barrier. Of course, you have this little corridor to the north of wetlands and flatlands, and going up here that you will be able to bypass the mountains to the north, and obviously you got the flatland to the south. But it would be a great natural barrier, a great natural border if you don't plan on colonizing all of Siberia. That's something you could do. And then the vegetation, forest, grassland, sparse. Yeah, that's pretty much all you're getting. There's a little bit of woods here and there. There's no, that I can tell, farmland in this area. Yeah, you've just got your woods, your forest, your grasslands, and your sparse. A little bit of desert, but these are, like, it's a desert wasteland, which I think is kind of, just call it wasteland. I don't think it needs to have a vegetation on wastelands. But anyway, the terrain is interesting here, as there are 2 main ecological areas. First is the steppe, the flatland with sparse and grassland vegetation, with either cold, arid, or continental climates. And then we have the Siberian Arctic forests, which are completely different, of course. On a note, the Urals were set as hills, as they're quite settleable area, but we'll probably make a review with your feedback and add some mountains there. I think, yeah, it just makes sense to have mountains there, to be honest. But anyway, moving on to development, and it is pretty low. It's good that they're adding development into these maps now. Very happy to see that. But yeah, the development is just horrible across the board, and then a little bit higher when you move into the Russian region. The whole region is not very developed. You might notice the difference with India from last week's Tinto map, for sure. Harbours, meanwhile, we don't need to look at most of the map, but we're looking here at the Black Sea. Of course, Sevastopol is a very highly desirable port. Tana there. Less good ports in the Caspian. But yeah, it is the Caspian. I need to pause and have a look. Yes, it is the Caspian Sea. The thing I got wrong before, this is the Aral Sea, and it used to be a lot bigger than it is now. I think that's where I made my mistake before. But yeah, Caspian Sea. Look, I got brain problems. But yeah, that's looking decent for harbours. Cultures, meanwhile, a lot of different cultures here. Plenty of them. Although we plan to work on the religious and cultural minorities in the region during the summer, we end up not having enough time to add them. So what we'll be doing today is showing the rough outline of cultural spheres, and then we'll add the minorities during the review of the region. In that sense, feedback is very well received. So yes, if you have thoughts and ideas on what these are, what cultures should be here, what things have gone wrong, what minorities should be added, then this will be the place to do it. With that said, the only note that needs to be made in terms of cultural design is that we divided the Tata culture group into some differentiated regional cultures, being Crimean, Mishari, Kazani, and Astrakani. We're also aware of some of the cultures, such as Mari and Chuvash, might be a bit displaced, as noted in the Russian Tinto map, so we'll review and correct that with the feedback. Religion, meanwhile, the matter is a little bit worse here. The big Sunni blob is just because the main religion of the Golden Horde is Islam after the conversion of Uzbek Khan. But that's obviously incorrect, as we also have been able to forecast development time on how pagan divisions will be during the autumn, and we'll make a comprehensive review of the region as well to get a good distribution of the shamanist paganism, Tengriism, and Sunni Islam. So yes, more review is needed here to see what areas should be what, right? It's not just a monolithic Sunni block that is, I guess, placeholder AF. Raw materials. Livestock, fur, and horses is the big call of the day. Lots of iron and gold in the Ural Mountains here. But really, yeah, livestock, horses, fur, wild game, I guess, is the order of the day. It is pretty much that's all you got. Copper and iron dotted around, but yeah, unless you got the Ural Mountains, then your goods will not be so widely spaced out. Looking at Ukraine here, and we've got fish and cotton, salt and wine, and some fruit there in Crimea. And then more north, more livestock, more horses, salt. Yeah, that's what we're expecting there. Regarding the raw materials, the steppes have plenty of livestock and horses. You don't say. Quite logically. Although there are regions with other goods, and up in the north, the main materials are lumber and fur. Apart from that, I want to mention that the mineral hub in the Ural Mountains, plenty of copper, iron, gold, lead, and coal, makes it a very mid and late game interesting spot. And playing as Muscovy/Russia, I'll tell you that you definitely want to expand into that region, as will fulfill some of your material needs by that time. Good to know. Now, markets. This is the biggest controversialiness when it comes to the new map design, and the one where I am absolutely sold on the counter argument that this is bad. I think this looks really, really bad. Right. The problem with this map is the colors on here are supposed to show you how much market access each location has. The darker the color, the less market access. But if you surround every location in a darker border, that is taking away from the overall effect of what you're going for, of that access being shown. Especially, you can see it if I move this over a bit, you can especially see it with Kyiv. The north just looks like a big grey blob, but you can tell in some locations that are large enough that that's not actually the case, that it is just that is the border, the outline, and yeah, it is not, it's not good. This one is not good. This one definitely needs changing back to the original way that it worked. I do like that they've made it so that zero access doesn't have any coloring at all. I think that's a decent idea, but yeah, God, this is not the way. This is not the way. The stained glass looks cool, but the functionality is completely lost, and I'm way more interested in the functionality than I am in the stained glass. Definitely want to see this change. Big region with lots of markets, although you may have noticed we changed the colouring of the locations that have zero market access, which is the case in several areas. It indicates the market centres are Kaffa, Astrakhan, Sarayjuk, Konya, Ugins, Samarkand, Almaty, and Chimgitura. By the way, these names are much easier to notice in the game's UI, as they are beside the market centres. Okay, sure, but at the same time, this needs a change, and this is what they look like with the UI on. Yeah, I don't think I'm changing my mind on this. This definitely needs to change. Hopefully they will agree and change it. Population-wise, 6.2 million in the Golden Horde. This week we're only showing the country population map mode. There's some location numbers here and there which are failing due to the already known issue with our pop editor, and which is on the way to be fixed. In any case, the whole population of the region is around 6.5 to 7 million, of which around 6.3 million are part of the Golden Horde. As I said, that is a menacing country. That's all for today. It'll be the last Tinto maps in a while for Pavia, as he's going on vacation for 3 weeks during October. You might have noticed that he didn't have any during the summer. So the content designers, Roger, will step in and be in charge of the next 4 Tinto maps. It's in good hands. Roger is an experienced content designer who's been working and focused on Project Caesar for more than 3 years. At this point, this is why you might not know him from EU4 as other content designers on the team. In any case, he'll be starting with the regions of Xinjiang, mostly ruled by the Chagatai Khanate, and Tibet is what we're going to be getting next week. Love that. That is going to be very interesting. So, thoughts. This looks bad. This looks fun. Honestly, like, having the resources be very location concentrated, like is the case in the Urals, I think is a more fun situation than just having it all dotted around. It's going to make it a target, honestly. If it wasn't so kind of out of the way and historically owned by basically one imperialist power, it would probably be, yeah. Any country, I think, that is kind of trying to contest, say, if you want to play Chagatai, you probably want to go into the Ural Mountains purely to contest whoever comes out of this. Maybe it's the Golden Horde itself. But these resources in the Urals are going to be very, very key. I think that's going to be an interesting situation there. Cultures obviously needs a bit of work. The religion needs a bit of work. But other than that, I am not unhappy with how this is looking. I have a few comments to look into, and again, we're gonna go back to the standard separate comments video next week. But just for now. Can you revert the changes for markets, materials, terrains, and location maps? There are a lot of arguments against them. It makes it impossible to read the borders of locations. They all have gradients which blur them into the single mess. It's basically what I was saying, the stained glass look. There have been some internal discussion regarding the feedback, and yes, they do plan on making adjustments. That is good to know. And also, there are Crimean Goths, which is cool, and I like that. Yes, impressive, very nice. Will the Golden Horde split into the Western and Eastern Blue and White Hordes if it gets too weak? It can split, but not necessarily into those two, which is certainly interesting as well. We have this thread here. Would like to love your input on the thread they created about cultures. Highlights the wrongness of the unspecified consistency you have about in the Polish Tinto maps. For example, now Crimean culture doesn't look so consistent with the West, should be split up more, nor does Uzbek and Muscovite. And this is the thread that he is talking about here. On one side, they've got Polish Tinto maps feedback. They decided to be more consistent with the regions to the West, split the Polish and Ruthenian cultures. And the French one, obviously French culture is split into very many different types. In the Balkans, it's already split very much. In Germans, they split very much. But on the other side, the English are monolithic culture. The Iberian one is a monolithic culture. An Anatolian one, Greeks are represented as one monolithic. I don't think that's actually true, though. But yeah, the interesting thread for sure. You can pause to read it if you like. But there is a response to that. Just going quickly over the question, Crimean is already regionally split of the Tatar group, and in general terms we think it's consistent with the overall design. There's some issues that you point out that really aren't that way, like Greek culture is split, not unified. For Castilian, there's no possible regional divides for 1337 as up until the 1230s. We're in the same size as French and German cultures, but in 1337 there hasn't been enough diverging to make, let's say, Andalusian Castilian a different culture. In any case, they'll look into the specificities of each region in each Tinto maps to make for the best possible cultural design. I noticed that he's not mentioning Britain here. I do think English culture does need to be split. I think it's just a better situation if you can split cultures a bit more. I agree that Polish is in a good place now, and it got changed. I think England and Iberia should be split as well. I mean, I don't agree too much with this. I think Andalusian Castilian can totally be a thing. I think Leonese, I think, obviously they've got Catalan and Aragonese there already. There's the Iberian, the Castilian culture. I do think there's space for splits. What are the majority and minority cultures in Theodoro? So the Crimean Goths. So the majority Gothic, minority Pontic. Make sure to add more detailed culture maps when they review and add more minorities. And then finally, are there Jewish cultures and religions in Crimea, like the Crimean Karaites and the Rabbinic Krimchaks? Will be anything for there and Lipka Tatars migration into Lithuania? And how would you design the Cossacks? So, not yet, but they'll take note of the Crimean Karaites and Rabbinic Chipyats. Will there be anything for their migration to Lithuania? Not currently. And how do they design the Cossacks? Well, it's too early to talk about that, but they are implemented, and we'll see them, I guess, in a few weeks. But that is all I have time for today. I hope you've enjoyed this Tinto Maps. I'm pretty happy with the way that this area is shaping up. Obviously, it is not finished. A bit of things are in a work-in-progress situation. And, yeah, that's enough. But one last thing. Hi, Matt. You have been mentioned. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.